Hello everyone, happy Monday. My name is Renita Nadifa. Me and my friend Ilma Rehana would like to explain you all about the narrative research design. The submaterial that we want to explain you all, the first one is what is narrative research design, when is it used, and how did it develop. The second one is the types of narrative research design. The third, the characteristic of research design. Fourth, potential issues in gathering stories, steps in conducting a narrative study, and the last one is evaluating a narrative study. So we move on to the next PowerPoint slide. That is, what is narrative research design, when is it used, and how did it develop? Narrative research design is a study about story. In narrative research design, researchers describe the lives of individuals, collect and tell stories about people's life, and write narrative of individual experiences. The story is written through the hearing process of others or meet the person face to face through the interview. The study of stories has been carried out in various scientific disciplines, including literature of criticism, history, philosophy, organizational theories, and social science. In social science, stories are studied by anthropologists, sociologists, psychologists, and educators. The narrative is understood to be a written or spoken text that gives a record of an event or event series, and a chain of events connected chronologically. There is 17 types of narrative research design. The first one is autobiography. An autobiography is the individuals who is the subject of the study writes the account. Second one is biographies, is a form of narrative study in which the researchers writes and records the experiences of another person's life and life writing, personal accounts, personal narrative, life stories. And life stories is a narrative story of the entire life experiences of a person. And you can see the other type of narrative research design through the PowerPoint slide. So we move on to the next slide. So in this slide, we are going to talk about the characteristic of narrative research design. The first one is individual experience. In individual experience is about social and personal interaction. Second is chronology of the experience. Third, collecting individual stories. The fourth is restoring or retell. Fifth is coding for themes. Sixth, context or setting. And the last one is collaborating with participants, between researchers and participants in the study, such as negotiating field texts.
Okay, so now let's discuss about the potential ethical issues in narrative research design. The first one is the story might be inauthentic. So it can be inauthentic because the participant may fake the data. For example, telling that the ending is happy ending when actually it's not. So it might be inauthentic because the participant may manipulate the story that they told to the researcher. Then the second one is participants may not be able to tell the real story. This can be happen because a lot of things. It can be because of the experiences are too horrific to report, or it's too raw to recall. So for example, the participant experience horrible things, so that they afraid to remember or to tell it. Or it can be that the experience happened a long time ago, so it's hard for the it's hard for the participant to recall it again. Then the third is narrative researcher cannot report a story that they don't have permission to tell. So in order to obtain permission, in order to report the story and have permission, we need to obtain permission to report the stories first and inform the individuals or the participants about the purpose of our research. Then the fourth is the participant's voice in the story might be lost in final narrative report, because the researcher might change the participant's story into the researcher's story. So in this case, the researcher might change or manipulate the original story from the participant. Next is about the steps in conducting a narrative research. So step 1 is identify a phenomenon that addresses an educational problem. So in this step, we begin to focus on what research problem we would like to study, and then we identify the issue or concern. For example, in researching the diversity of children in the classroom, several issues that might arise can be bullying among children fight when they try to solve a problem, or others. Then step 2 is purposefully select an individual from whom you can learn about the phenomenon. So in this step, we need to find the individuals or who understand the phenomenon. This person can be someone who has experienced the issue or situation regarding to the phenomenon. For example, in researching the diversity of children in classroom, the individual who understands about the phenomenon is the teacher who handled the class. Then step number 3 is collecting the story from that individual. So the story can be gathered by asking the individual to tell about his or her experiences through personal conversation or interviews. We can also collect the data through some other ways, such as gathering the stories about the individual from family, then gathering documents such as memos about the individual, taking a look at the individual's journal or diary, and others. Then the fourth is retelling the story from the individual before. Okay, so this retelling process includes examining the unprocessed data, identifying elements of the story, organizing the elements, then retelling the individual's experience. Then step 5 is collaborating with the participants as the storyteller. So in this step, we actively interact and collaborate with the individual as the storyteller during the process. Then step 6 is writing a story about the participants' experiences. This is the major step in narrative research design process, because this is the step where the researcher writes and presents the story from the individual. So the researcher needs to restory or retell the individual's experience. Besides that, the researcher can also highlight specific aspects in the individual story. The story here is presented in narrative report, of course, and first person pronoun to refer yourself as the researcher. Then step number 7 is validating the accuracy of the report. So in this step, the accuracy of the report needs to be confirmed, for example, by searching for this confirming evidence and doing the member checking. So next, let's move on to evaluating a narrative research. So in evaluating the narrative research, we need to first keeps the focus on a single individual or two. So we do this because a lot of individuals may distract the process because their stories might conflicting each other. So it's better for us to keep the focus on a single or two individuals only. Then the second one is reports the life experience of individuals as told through their stories. Don't manipulate the story by including additional story which isn't relevant with the original story. Then the third one is retells the individual stories and tells the story using a chronology with a beginning, middle, and end. This can make it easier for the readers to understand the story if we tell it using a chronology. And after that, describes in some details the context of the story. So we describe some details of the story, and then reports themes 5 to 7. So in this we state some key points of the story to show the story clearly. Then after that, closely collaborates with the participants, providing the story and engage with the participants. So this can be done by having them the participants to check the evolving story frequently and examining the final story to see whether it accurately reflects the individual's experiences or not. Alright everyone, I think that's all our presentation about narrative research design. Thanks for your attention and have a nice day.